Definitely no narcotics of any kind, no barbiturates, no amphetamines of any kind. We do not stock those in our warehousing. They come direct from the vendor to the individual stores in the area.
What was the load?
It consists of various items of drugstore type merchandise: candy, cigars, cigarettes, household goods, family goods, toilet goods, laundry supplies. And
total value?
In the neighborhood of $40,000. Had four stores ready for delivery, loaded onto the truck.
Before a search could get underway, the rig was reported parked on Interstate 20 in far east Dallas County, reported by a passing trucker who thought it rather strange that a Skillern's trailer had been parked with a humble oil tractor attached. Some of the merchandise was recovered. However, the more lucrative items, cigarettes, candy, cosmetics, and non-prescription drugs, were gone. The transfer point for the stolen items was only a short distance away on a county road. Dallas Police Warrant Officer Dusty Davis was an eyewitness to that early morning transfer.
Well, at 5:30, when I was going to work, I saw this tractor and two bobtails, and they looked like they were unloading the tractor truck. I was running a little late for work, and I was going to call the sheriff's office, and I checked to see if there was a sheriff's car when I was going down the freeway. I didn't see any, and I got to work at 5:55, and run a little late, and it slipped my mind, and I heard it on the air when I got out in my patrol car.
That stolen tractor used to pull the trailer away was later determined to have been taken from a repair shop within blocks of the Skillern's warehouse. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Control of the spread of venereal disease, most specifically of gonorrhea and syphilis, is the basic aim of the people here at the Dallas Public Health Center. Comparative statistics released by the Communicable Disease Control Center in Atlanta, Georgia, show that both Dallas and Fort Worth are above the national average in reported cases of both diseases. For example, the national average of infectious syphilis is 11.5 persons per 100,000 population, or one case in every 8,333 people. In Texas, 1 out of every 3,846 persons has it. Fort Worth figures show 1 in 2,941 has infectious syphilis, while Dallas reports 1 in 1,470. The staggering figures are in the number of reported cases of gonorrhea. The national average is 1 of every 326 persons infected with the disease. Statewide figures show 1 out of every 236. In Fort Worth, the figure is 1 out of 160. And in Dallas, 1 out of every 87 persons has gonorrhea. Health officials in Dallas say, however, that concentrated population centers always show a high number of cases. The major problem, they say, is that 9 out of 10 women who have either syphilis or gonorrhea are not aware of it, nor will they ever be aware of it. Bob Owen, public health advisor, says that while the number of cases of gonorrhea in the city is increasing, he is concerned. It is alarming, but in his opinion, not of epidemic proportions.
Well, we are certainly concerned, but I wouldn't say alarmed. There certainly has been an increase in gonorrhea, but we feel that it hasn't increased to an alarming stage. We don't feel that it's a massive outbreak.
Officials here say this is the first time that a national policy attitude has ever been stated, or that funds of this magnitude have ever been made available to fight venereal disease. They say that the problem is not a new one, but now at last they have something with which to fight it. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, the Dallas Public Health Center.
Do you feel you have something extra for the AAUs that you saved over from the NCAAs, or do you just go all out at each big meet?
Well, the team championships at the NC2As is a lot more important, and so consequently it's a little bit anticlimactic to come to this one just 2 weeks afterwards and swim, but I don't know, we're a lot more relaxed and the pressure's off, so to speak, so I think we'll do at least as well, maybe better, because I think you can swim a lot better relaxed than you can when you're too nervous.
When you set a record, as you have, do you know it, do you sense it at the time that you're going better than usual?
I can usually tell in the swim how well I'm going. sometimes I'm always, surprised when I look up and see my time, or, it can work both ways. Sometimes you think you're going faster than you really are, or, you really go the other way. But usually I'd say you can tell whether you're, going fast or not just by how well you feel or how smooth you are.
Yeah, Verne, I came up as a relief pitcher, and last year I was a starter. I started in 70 and then about 11 times last year, and was going pretty good, pitching well but not winning. And then all of a sudden we got a few runs one day, and everything had been going bad, and I gave up a lot of runs. And so I just went up to Ted the next day and I said, listen, I think I'll help the ball club more in a bullpen, and I'd like to go back there. He said, fine. And that same night, I won my first ball game, so I've been back there ever since. I think I started one more game last year after I went back to the bullpen.
What is the biggest difference? Is it a mental thing or physical or what?
Well, I don't think so. I think being in the bullpen, my arm recovers real quick. I can throw every day, and this helps me that way.
The story occurred last night at 9924 Lake Mere in North Dallas, where 10-year-old Akihiko Mizumo and his 9-year-old brother Takashi were at home alone. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. John Mizumo, had gone to a party. Across the alley at 9917 Ridgehaven, two 17-year-olds, Randy Jones and his friend Brian Cahill, were working on Randy's car. They were trying to get the transmission repaired. At about 11:30, the work on the car had to be stopped. They noticed a fire.
Well, we were across the alley working on my car in the garage, and we turned around and noticed that the smoke was coming out from the roof, and it was blazing up. So I went in the house and told my parents to call the fire department because there's a fire across the alley. And we came running over and broke down that gate to get in, and it was locked. And then we came up to the sliding glass door and started banging on it to see if we could get whoever was in the house to, call it to their attention that their house was on fire. And then we broke the door down to get in.
Brian, you broke the door down?
I kicked the door down, and we went in and found the youngest boy standing in there in the den, right in there, and we asked him if anybody else was in the house, and he said yes, his brother was. So Randy took that one out, and I went on into the house in the hall and got his brother out, and Randy's younger brother took both of them over to his house, and I went over to the other gate and broke it down and got the water hose in front, and Randy got the one in back. And we tried to, wet the roof down, see if we could get the fire stopped, but we couldn't.
Takashi Mizumo are safe. They were away playing this afternoon. The Mizumos have been in Dallas for a year and a half. John Mizumo represents the Noritake Company in Dallas. They are thankful that Randy and Brian were at home, and their two sons are alive today. Jim Riddle, Channel 8 News in North Dallas.
I don't know the reason for dismissing 40% of the cases that are filed in your office. I do know that if a case is not a triable case, it shouldn't be filed in the first place. Now, Mr. Crouch's reasons for dismissing 40%, of course, I'm not aware of. I have my own ideas about some of them, but...
Well, you've intimated that perhaps it's just poor prosecution. Could you define that a little more clearly?
Well, I'll say it's either poor prosecution or it's a poor system at the beginning when these cases are brought into the office. Now, they're either not screened. If, in fact, they are bad cases, which I don't believe, then they're not being properly screened.
Pitching the bullpen for the fact that I can, pitch every day.
You're getting bugged by Dick Billies. You want to explain what he said?
Yeah, they're getting on my hair a little bit. It's a little long, but I'm going to get it cut pretty soon. I don't know when, but it'll be cut before the season starts. But getting back to the bullpen after he leaves, I do like it better. I really do. I think I'm a better relief pitcher than I am a starter for the fact that I only basically throw 2 pitches. I just throw a fastball and slider, where a starter has to get 3 or 4 pitches over the plate consistently.
Casey, given that, can you take it a little bit easier in spring training, say, than a guy who's going to start?
No, I can't. I work the same as the starter does because I have to be in shape and I have to be ready to pitch every day. It's not that much different. I think the only thing is differently that they'll start going 5 and 6 innings, where I'll only go maybe 3 innings at the very most. And this is the big difference, but I'll pitch in more games, maybe not as many innings.
We were just discussing that this morning, and I don't know the figures in Dallas County. It'd be my guess it'd be about twice as many, but I don't know that for a fact.
Do you think that, based on your observations, you could dismiss no more than 20%?
Yes, I think so.
Well, if you had to sum up why these dismissals came to pass, what is your opinion?
And we wet the neighbor's house down so that it wouldn't catch because it was very close. The fire was not in the house. The power was out, and that was it.
Did the kids know what was going on? Did they know?
The boys didn't know anything. They'd been asleep, and we'd woken them up.
How long did it take for the fire department to get here?
About 3 minutes, and by that time the whole roof was on fire, and it probably just barely started getting on the inside.
Whereabouts in Vietnam did that happen?
Down by Moduc. We were working a little bit west of there, setting up a mechanical ambush one night. Must have been a good place because there was already one there.
That's near Saigon down that. Is that south?
No, it's south and west of Chulai, a little bit north of
I was in Chulai for 8 months. In South China Sea there.
It's a nice place.
I didn't have as rough as you did, though. I was behind the lines over
Out of almost 600 patients in the Veterans Hospital in Dallas, 45 are Vietnam veterans. Many of those guys just back from Vietnam are amputees, missing arms and legs that were shattered by shrapnel. Through corrective therapy, they can learn to use their limbs again with artificial legs and arms.
It's it just tears you apart, and you feel so inadequate trying to talk to these young men. But I felt good after talking to Pat upstairs. Well, he had both legs amputated. Man, he couldn't wait to until he got his new legs and he could get out and go to school. And in fact, he just got married last December. And this boosts you. You take everything for granted, your day-to-day living, and boy, you see something that strikes home to a guy like this and see him bounce back. I'm sure all the veterans aren't like that, and some of the men we met upstairs have had a tough time, and trying to talk to them, I feel inadequate. The war itself, I'm opinionated like everyone else, and it's difficult, and you just got to be thankful for what you have and just do the best, and it's going to require a lot of sacrifice in our society today to do something for these men.
Every GI's dream is to go home. Unfortunately for these Vietnam veterans, home is a hospital right now. But with the help of intensive corrective therapy, plus a lot of personal courage, these guys will be able to have a real homecoming pretty soon. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move.
And should not be said that every Vietnam veteran is a drug addict, a hophead, or a junkie. Only 1% of all of the men who have served during this period of time have a drug addiction problem. Now, even one is a tragedy, and we're trying to meet this problem, and I think we are.
How are you going to meet it? By establishing centers at your hospitals?
Well, in this current fiscal year, we've already established 32 drug centers, including one in Houston, Texas. Beginning July 1, we plan to add 12 more, and these are formalized centers for the treatment of drug addicts.
Well, it's one that certainly should be successful because the majority of people need cleaning and laundry service, and one of our problems is finding space available in federal buildings. Now, the minority concessionaires pay for their space. They're charged for the rental of the space. We certainly couldn't dispossess agencies, federal agencies, to make room for a concession. But where we can find space for them, and certainly a pickup station for cleaning, laundry, and alterations certainly fits in very well.
No, I'm not. It's certainly evident that we missed Bart Crashley. Now, he's the strength of our blue line. He helps the young defense that we have out. In the crucial situations, he's able to go out there and do the job for us. He makes our power play function, and he's been a great leader for us, more or less, like him and J.P. LeBlanc, and we certainly miss Bart, but we've played without him during the courses of the season when he had two gimpy elbows, and we've won. So I'm not panicking at all.
The United Way movement, spends about $3.5 billion, a little in excess of that, $3.5 billion. We raised last fall $865,200,000, okay? So where does the difference come from? It comes from people paying fees for those who can afford to pay, partially or totally, whatever they can afford, and two, third-party payments. In the third-party payment category are insurance payments, as well as governmental payments. The question is, how can we best deliver services to people? How we can get more of the dollar serving people and less on the overhead, And we're convinced that no political party can avoid the responding to the demand for services. They've got to do it. The only issue is how they're going to use the federal dollars.
So then what you're saying in net effect is that if the federal government would give you money instead of setting up their welfare maze as they have done, then you believe you could do a more efficient job of helping people.
What we're saying is this, is that the fundamental welfare payment system and medical payment system has got to be totally tax-based. There's no question about that. What we're really addressing ourselves to is what's coming off the governmental drawing boards now in terms of ancillary service delivery, ranging from child care to homemaker service to counseling. And what we're saying here is that we have agencies now in the field organized with local volunteer leadership running them who can do the job.
One of our officers is dead. One lies seriously wounded, and the third officer was shot down without warning this afternoon. I grieve for these officers and their families. I want the criminal element to understand full well that we're not going to stand idly by and see our men brutally shot down by those persons who have no respect for the law or those who are charged with the responsibility of upholding it.
Do you know why? Do you know why your husband did this?
He come to kill me.
He tried to kill you. When was that?
He come to kill me.
He came to kill you. Do you know how the Johnsons are right now?
No.
Well, I worked with him over a year. He was a pretty nice guy. He just come out there and told me he wanted me to carry him down there and start his truck.
Were you a hostage of Mr. Lacey at any time?
Well, yeah, he kept me with him. He had a pistol with him.
Did he force you to stay with him?
Yes, sir, he forced me to stay with him.
How did you get away?
Well, I run out the door when he went in this cafe.
member of this community when I say that these senseless assaults on our police officers will not be tolerated.
The construction of it by our limb makers in Dallas and in Fort Worth, and the